Why do some players get worse before they get better? Hi, I'm James Breese and welcome to Blackboard Friday, where we share our systems and frameworks to help you become a better cricketer. And today we're talking about technique, and specifically our framework for coaching and working with players when we're doing technical work with them. So technique, everyone loves technique in the world of cricket, right? And by the way, check out my new fancy jumbo-sized pens where you can hopefully read here. We do listen to feedback, every now and then. So, when it comes to technical changes, we have 4 stages of learning, as we put it. In very simple terms, stage number 1 is unaware. You don't know what you don't know. So stage number 1 is we're taking a player from not knowing there's a problem to aware in stage 2. So unaware to aware. Don't know we got a problem. Uh-oh, I've got a problem. To stage 3, where they start thinking about said problem. So they're then thinking about said problem, and this is where the coaching essentially comes in. And then number 4 becomes the idea of being it's automatic. Now, what do I mean by this? So, practical example is everybody comes into us for technical work. We start with a video analysis. Why? Because we have to hold up a mirror and show them what the problem is. For example, a batsman or a batter who is taking the bat path behind them and is going around and always playing inside out in most of their shots. They're probably unaware because they've never had somebody video them so closely and intently before and put it down in slow motion. So they become problem unaware to then going, uh-oh, I have a problem. And then when they're aware of it, they start thinking about it. And that's what we got to do when we go into the nets then. So every time as a coach or when they're on their own practicing, they're thinking about the said problem. And this will take time, right? We want them to think about it. And what happens more often than not is performance dips within these 2 stages, and that's perfectly normal. You are going through the learning process when it comes to technique. It's a good thing. You learn more by failure than you do by successes sometimes. So we've got to take somebody from unaware to aware. They start consciously thinking about it, while we start to figure out what exactly is going on. And that's why our principle of what, why, and how comes in. So we take that video, and I'll do another video at what, why, how. That's another stage. But we see the video. What are they doing? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? And that comes through the testing and analysis we do on either biomechanics or strength and capacity testing, right? So thinking about it. And that's the stage of motor control, motor learning that we want them to go through, because we don't want them thinking about this when it comes to the games. We want this to be automatic, right? So the last thing you want to think about when you go into a game is your technique, because if you do, you get everything wrong, right? You've got to be thinking about hitting the ball, the game situation, and the intent to score runs. If you're paralyzed by fear and you don't know what you're doing and you're just focusing on technique, you've already lost, you've already got out. Okay, so really, really important. We go through these 4 stages. So from unaware to aware to thinking about it, and then automatic. Now in clinical terms, for those who want a keen eye, when we talk about movement dysfunction, we go from unconscious dysfunction to conscious dysfunction to conscious dysfunction to conscious function. Okay, it's a long way to go. Unconscious function. It's a way to think about it in terms of how we coach motor control. So it's a very simplistic framework for parents, coaches, and cricketers out there to understand unaware, aware, thinking, and it becomes automatic. But that hard work comes in here. And that's why we start talking about the idea of what does success look like. Probably seen a lot of the graphs in the past, but everyone who comes to us thinks that success is a straight line. You go from A to B, and that's what success looks like. It is far from it. In fact, I think you need it. There's a great book called The Talent Code, written many years ago, about how the hotbeds of talent around the world, from sports or music, they follow the same sort of process. They have this kind of spiral where it's never linear, it's up and down, it goes around, then success comes up over the top. Everyone talks about being an overnight success, but it's actually 20 years in the making. So success is never linear. You've got to go through the failure points to learn more about yourself, particularly when it comes to batting. right? And that's just from personal experience too, to understand of where we've got to get to. Now, when we understand the concepts of unaware, aware, thinking, and then automatic, we're then going to work out as coaches, well, how do we fix and address that? What is it that we do to address this? And this is where I want to teach you the concept of, I call it hashtag OneThing, right? So hashtag OneThing. What's the one thing we can think about and focus on to make a change and make that become automatic in practice? So again, let's take an example of someone I was working with yesterday, where literally they were taking the back path behind them every time. So for me, there's lots of other things happening at the same time too, but for me, it was how can I help him have a straighter back path to make cleaner, better contact each and every time. So we were starting to do drills. Well, actually, we didn't. It was more clinical work, actually, because he had severe restrictions in his shoulder and his triceps and his obliques and his lats, which meant he physically couldn't take the back in the right plane. So it was a physical capacity problem for him. But once we come over the physical limitations, my one thing is, how can I coach him a better back path first and foremost, right? And we're going to hammer this home to the cows come home. How am I going to do that? Well, in practical terms, same sort of 4 stages of learning. And I learned this from Steve James, and shout out to Steve for this, who's my mentor more than anything else. And he's a fantastic guy. Read his articles in the Times if you can. So when it comes to working technical changes, particularly with batters, stage number 1 is underarms. Right? We are doing lots and lots of volume of underarms. Now, there's potentially like stage 0.5 where it's tennis ball drills sometimes you have to do. But underarms is the first stage where we're doing lots of drills, which allows people to think about what they're doing with lots more time, because you haven't got time when a bowler's coming at you, right? That's an automatic practice, whether it's a bad habit or a good habit. It's automatic practice. So underarms is the first stage. Stage number 2 is overarms. Now, I prefer throwing. I don't particularly like the slinger, but you can use a slinger here if you'd like to. Stage number 3 is bowling machine. Bowling machine. My handwriting gets worse. And number 4 is facing bowlers. And that, to me, takes us through the stages of building this one thing, this habit. We're starting to build and make a better habit of this one thing, and going through this process of helping them become better. I see it time and time again with coaches from many disciplines, not just in cricket, where they are bombarding athletes and players with 101 things at once, and they come away just dazed and confused, right? I see it with nutrition a lot of the time. They give everyone meal plans and tell them to go to the gym. They just lose track after 3 or 4 days. You've probably experienced it yourself. But for us, it's focusing on the one thing, which will be back path, and how quickly we can progress from underarms to overarms to bowling machine to bowlers in that progression. So it becomes automatic. Then we figure out, okay, well, let's reassess. Let's go back and have a look at what they look like on camera. Is their back path better? Cool. Are they making better contact? Yes. What's the next habit? And that becomes what we call habit stacking, right? We coined this phrase habit stacking, which we've used in fitness and performance for a long, long time, where we are literally layering habit stacking. We are layering habit after habit after habit after habit, but we have to master one to get to the next. So think about this. This could be habit number 1 is back path. Right? There's a simple example. Habit number 2 could be over striding. Habit number 3 is alignment. It could be anything you do, align, right? Whatever it is and whatever here. But the idea is we're going and stacking these layers on top of each other, but we're choosing the first habit that we think will have the biggest impact because it creates the base at the very bottom. So we stack the habits to help cricketers become better cricketers, but we're focusing on one thing at a time. We do not bombard them with everything at once. Sometimes less is more, and we've got to take them through each of those stages. So players, coaches, athletes out there, Focus on one thing. Remember, you have to go from unaware to aware to thinking about what's going on to then making it become automatic. And stage 2 and 3 is the hardest bit. You become aware to thinking about it, and that's where most players tend to see their performance drop off. But that is absolutely perfectly natural, but it's something you have to go through if you want to become a better cricketer. And again, if you have aspirations of making it as a professional, you've got to put lots of hours and you can go through lots of habit stacking and building these habits over time to make you a better and well-rounded athlete. So parents, coaches, athletes, think about that. What's the one thing you're working on, and what are the habits that you are stacking on top of each other to help you become a better cricketer? So very quickly recapping, we call it the 4 stages. And that is, number 1 is unaware. Number 2 is aware. Number 3 is thinking about it, so think. And number 4 is automatic. And that is how we try and take our systems and frameworks in terms of athletic performance and helping you become a better cricketer and going through those 4 stages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and start stacking people. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it gives you a better insight into how we look at technique and work on technique and develop cricketers here at Cricket Matters. Hope it helps. Take away, drop a comment down below, like and subscribe if you haven't done so on the channel, and I'll see you next time on Blackboard Friday.